For more on all of this, we turn now to two NewsHour regulars, David McCoskey of the Washington Institute for Near East Policy and Hussein Ibish with the Arab Gulf States Institute in Washington. Thank you both for being here. Hussein, we'll start with you. President Biden today made clear that he laid out the precise contours of this agreement back in May.
Right.
It was, of course, almost agreed to in July. Why
Yep.
now?
Well, and even it had antecedents going back to January and even November of 2023. So these ideas have been around for a long time. But I think the two inflection points are the election of Donald Trump and the pressure he put on Prime Minister Netanyahu, which builds on pressure from the Israeli public and the Israeli military to make such a deal. I think Trump was very clear that he did not want this war to go on during his inauguration. And on the other hand, major change of power within Hamas, inflected mainly by the fall of the Assad regime, which signals the rise of Turkey and Qatar in the region at the expense of Iran and Hezbollah, and shifts power within Hamas away from the gunmen on the ground in Gaza who did the October 7 attack, back to the politicians, the Politburo, that have left Qatar but are now gathered in Turkey. And the main regional card that Hamas can play now is not the military links they have with Iran, but the political and diplomatic links they have with Turkey and Qatar. And Turkey and Qatar don't want this war to go on. So between pressure on those two sides, you got a deal.
David McCoskey, there was a temporary ceasefire that was in place in November of 2023 that fell apart after a week. It fell apart on the 8th day. What's different about this agreement, or what's different about the climate that might suggest this ceasefire deal might be more enduring?
Yeah, well, like you said, that was the last big point, was November, when 105 hostages were released for a few days of ceasefire. This is a much more ambitious effort in terms of not just a few days, but at least 42, and we hope it's extended. Your heart goes out to the families of these hostages who are being reunited, and also to the people of Gaza who are going to get relief. I agree with Hussein that there's been a convergence of factors here. I mean, I agree with President Biden when he said it happened because of the extreme pressure on Hamas that it's been under, and Nick Schifrin in his setup piece about losing Hezbollah, they were fighting in stereo, and now Hezbollah's out of the war after the death of Sinwar, the death of Nasrallah, and the decapitation, and the weakening of Iran. Biden said the worst in decades, its weakest in decades, and the transition between governments. Clearly, the fact that I think this is unprecedented in American history, that an ingoing and an outgoing administration were sitting at the same table to get this done. They can't agree between Biden and Trump if it's light or dark outside, but they could agree on this. And but all these people want to be in the good graces of the United States, of a new administration, and I think that was also part of it as well. But I guess I disagree a little bit with Hussein in that I don't think it's just the external elements of Hamas. The people that hold the keys to the hostages are in Gaza, and those are the people who are doing the killing. And so I think without weakening them, you would not have had a deal.
No, I agree with that.
And there's such fragility around the ceasefire deal, and the road ahead, of course, will be critical. But who are the guarantors? Who are the people on the ground who can ensure that both sides abide by the terms of this agreement? Because there's no international observers. There's no government structure that can make sure of that.
Really, the parties are on their own, I think. It's up to, after the 42 days, which they'll both probably live up to, both sides are going to have to decide if they want the agreement to survive the 42 days and then to go into a second phase. And they're both going to have to agree. Either side could decide to, scupper things at any moment. And certainly, especially within Gaza, a small group of people with guns could do something violent and, give Israel either the reason or the excuse to say, no, the war's back on. So it's going to be very delicate. I think if the leaders are committed to following through into a second phase, they're going to have to be willing to put up with some provocations that maybe simply have to be baked into the process. Otherwise, there are no external guarantors. There is no one overseeing this.
And moving forward, the incoming Trump administration, David, believes it has the upper hand. Of course, for a new presidential administration, leverage can be a wasting asset. How do you assess the Trump team's chances of helping both sides navigate their way toward a lasting peace?
Look, this is going to be hard. I think what the Trump administration is counting on is that Netanyahu, in a certain way, wants to turn the page and have a much broader conversation with the incoming administration about regional opportunities and regional challenges. The opportunity is a normalization deal with the Saudis, which you have to credit the Biden people. They're the ones who did a lot of the work on this, but Trump might get the benefit of it. And that's something the Israelis want very much as part of a wider mega deal with Saudi Arabia and the United States. That's the opportunity. And the challenge is, what do you deal with Iran now that it's been weakened? Some of you know I like sports metaphors, and this is like Iran is like a soccer team without a goalie. They have no air defenses right now. So is this a way to leverage getting Iran to the table on nuclear terms that they wouldn't agree to before? But this is a broader conversation that goes way beyond Gaza. There's an opportunity here for Netanyahu to engage that the administration. If everything is just Gaza, 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 it's going to be much harder to have that conversation that I think both the U.S. and Israel want to have. So I do think there is an incentive there that should not be overlooked.
In the minute we have left, do you agree? And what does this mean for the governing authority, the governing structure in
That's
Gaza?
exactly the problem. There's the rub, because Israel has done nothing to prepare for this day, and especially for phase 2 and phase 3. Netanyahu has refused to discuss a day after scenario. They have adamantly opposed any moves to create an alternative civil administration in Gaza. So there's a straight up forward choice between Israeli military rule, the resumption of Hamas rule, which appears to be a strategic decision Israel has made in this agreement for fear of strengthening the Palestinian Authority, which I believe they fear more than Hamas, because they think that the PA might eventually be able to create a Palestinian state. It's a continuation of the old policy of dividing the Palestinians. And I think Israel is intending to leave Hamas in de facto control of Gaza, and there's no other way to interpret this agreement, frankly.
Certainly more to come. Hussein Ibish and David Makovsky, our thanks to you both.
Thank you.